Jongisilo Menziwa, Pokwana. Sir, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I think your initial reaction when we got the news that the Zulu royal family was heading to court to settle this this leadership battle, when you heard those news, what was your initial reaction?
Thank you, Naledi, and good morning to your viewers. My initial reaction was that South Africans actually always get shocked when they hear issues of disputes around traditional leadership. And those disputes are there at all levels of traditional leadership. So it's not something that is exclusive to the Zulu kingdom. It's just in the news because it is very prominent.
Yeah.
But the issue for me is that those disputes, that dispute is occurring because obviously there's a lot at stake. People that have got various interests around the position. The one question that I have not seen being raised is people, these two sides that are now mounting a claim against King, the incumbent King Misuzulu. I'm not hearing them saying that his mother was not married in accordance to custom when she was married, and that therefore that did not grant her the seniority amongst all the wives because of the way that she was married into the Zulu Royal family.
Yeah, I think I obviously am not going to go into too much detail in asking you who you think the rightful leader of the AmaZulu nation is, because this is an ongoing matter, and I imagine a difficult one to answer. But is it not concerning, as a traditional leader for yourself, or looking at this matter, that you've got, traditional leadership conflicts ending up in the courts? I mean, does this say that within our traditional systems we need better succession planning?
We do have succession planning in place. The case in point is the one that I'm talking to. But the problem is that people always want to test their opportunity at the position. So, I mean, the system is there, and everybody, that's why I'm saying, in this example, nobody's questioning it. But I think the unfortunate thing, Naledi, is that we are continuing to water down the weight of our, for the lack of a better word, institution of traditional leadership by taking our customs and our customary law to get it tested in a law that we have a problem with inherently, the Roman Dutch law system that is being used in South Africa, which our government has failed to transform since taking power in 1994. So it's an unfortunate thing that we are ending up in courts, which courts were used to depose many traditional leaders and impose some that were not even traditional leaders during the colonial era. We are still using that same system to try and resolve our issues. It's a shame.
Yeah, so what is the alternative? And this is where I suppose it gets quite difficult, right? If you're not going to go to the court to settle traditional leadership conflict, then where do you go? Particularly in the case of the AmaZulu nation, where the Prime Minister of the AmaZulu nation has passed on, and one would expect that he would have taken on that leadership role of deciding what happens next.
In that example, of the Zulu kingdom, when you have got wives, the first thing that must happen is that our discussion should be about the position of these wives that this king or this traditional leader has married. And once we have an agreement on the position of each one of them and which one is senior, then we have addressed the issue of who then takes over, because the son of the one who is senior takes over. That issue was dealt with in the Zulu kingdom in the early 70s at the very arrival of these wives. It was said, nobody seems to have questioned it, but it is normal that people will come with these things. So the people within the royal family are supposed to try and be on the side of the truth in order to make sure that they continue to give weight to their traditional to their kingdom, which, by the way, is one of those in the Southern Africa that still has got that majestic status that they have.
Yeah, I mean, do we need to perhaps start looking at really formally writing down what the succession process needs to be and making it public? And I ask that because it's a difficult sort of comparison to make, but I want to make it nonetheless. Look at the royal family in the UK, for instance. What you see is a very clear list of what happens next, right? Should King Charles then die, we know exactly who takes over the reins immediately afterwards. Is that the challenge that we have, that we simply haven't penned and specifically written down what happens in the case of one leader passing away and the next one passing away?
We may need to do that, but we need to find a way of localizing that system so that it suits our circumstances. Because in the question of Britain, for instance, there are no multiple wives, so they don't have some of the layers of challenges that we have. But here we have those challenges. And that challenge, you see, even the manner in which the king structured his will before his passing, it was talking to that same continuity of the succession plan that had been there for long. But the problem that you have right now, for instance, is that in this case is that you have people who are using tactics provided for in the Roman Dutch law system in order to stall the system, to sort of like test their chance. Now, attendance registers are being spoken about. The question of who constitutes the royal family, you can see that even the Traditional Cohesion Leadership Act, it does not tighten that definition, so that that definition does not just include about everyone. And you've got this something I call a false triangulation, where people will take a bit from customary law, which they think favors them, a little bit from Roman Dutch law, which they think now favors them and goes together with this one, and other inventions and assumptions and all of that, put all of that together and try to make a case about that. And in the general public and in people that don't understand ubukhosi and how ubukhosi functions, people get confused and they sort of like try to give an ear to the one that they think is more eloquent.
Yeah, I want to squeeze just two last questions in before I let you go. In speaking to a legal analyst on the matter earlier this week, on Sunday in fact, Mangosuthu talked about how this could possibly be a very lengthy court process that we see play out here. And in the meantime, while that happens, of course, there are questions around whether or not this, puts the unity of the AmaZulu nation at stake, and perhaps you could speak on that. Are you concerned about the unity of the AmaZulu nation, and also just what the recommendation would be if we continue with the court process? Is that what we do, or is there a way, are there opportunities for the family to settle this matter outside of court, in your view?
In all my observations and my readings and my analyzing court judgments on traditional leadership, I have not heard any judgment or any court of law that is whose outcomes have united a family. So I would really urge any family to stay away from court, because the first thing that you are doing is that you are enriching lawyers. That's the first obvious thing that you are doing. You are enriching lawyers, you are investing emotions on lengthy battles, and those battles are widening the gap between you and the person you have a claim against within the family. Whereas there could have been a compromise position. You see, in the AmaXhosa Kingdom, there was once, I think from around 2010, there was a dispute of who must ascend the position. The compromise position was that one of the claimants was allocated the position of a chieftaincy, to be inkosi, to be head of a traditional council, as a way of trying to mediate. And what then happened is that when the rightful one ascended the throne, that prince became very close to the king now, up until his passing, because even that king has since passed on recently. So those are some of the compromise positions that you reach as a family. You do not take yourselves to court, enrich lawyers, widen the debate, the gap between yourselves, insult each other, through the media, organize and mobilize members of royal family into faction, even the nation as a whole into factions, supporting this one against the other. You don't do that, because even when you decide to reconcile at some point, you are going to leave those people fractured, because things will happen in the course of fighting. People are going to kill each other, people insult each other, people retain a lot of that residual. So I would say stay away from courts, try to exhaust debate within the royal family and find ways of settling the matter.